Yo, yo, hope everyone's okay. This is Dave Callahan from the wonderful Calicast and wishing you all well. So I've got my next episode. It's with Hemal from Bene Culture, based down in Digbeth, obviously my spiritual home. Missed the place, of course, can't wait to get back there. So obviously needed to connect via Hemal. Now, but just wanted to touch base with him, say hello to him and see how he's getting on really in terms of his brand. His streetwear brand is probably one of my favourites in Birmingham. I wanted to know a bit more about them. I've been in the store many times and spoke to kind of the staff members there. And anyone who knows me knows I love streetwear, trainers, t-shirts, hats, jackets, jumpers, much to my wife's dismay. So yeah, just wanted to have a conversation, which was a great conversation, and learn more about their business and how they started and what 2021 looks like for them, whether it's physical or online. So I learned a lot. So hopefully you will too. Enjoy. Just wanted to get you on, man. Say hello, connect and that, and just hear about your story, and then hopefully we can, like, as I grow, you grow. We can just keep interacting and going from there. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah, that's cool, man.
Yeah.
Really appreciate, obviously, like in terms of like the brand itself. It's something like it's like our baby.
Yeah.
So where people like it or keep it coming to the store, it means like ridiculous amount of money. Just having a conversation, like people come to the store and they'll waste like an hour of their like lunch break just chatting, just like flipping out. Why do you waste an hour on us? But it's cool, man. We appreciate it a lot.
I loved it though because you were quite different to me, and I thought I'll go in and have a look. I was speaking to the lads, good lads, and then just got chatting away to him, and I was quite intrigued because I've got a lot of friends in like kind of like the retail industry in terms of buying, working for size and stuff like that. So I was quite intrigued to kind of like your process as well and how you're getting on, because it's not easy. It wasn't easy then, a year or two back when I was speaking to the lads as an independent kind of streetwear business. So God knows what's happening now. Do you know what I mean? It's like a different world, I'm guessing, for you.
Well, it's sort of weird. So we at the start of 2020, we were still planning to be a retailer. So like our end goal was always to become a brand. But then the COVID sort of was like, you've just got to be a brand now. So we've sort of transitioned now from a retailer that stocked loads of brands. We're now just a brand. And then if you have friends and family that have brands, we'll usually take them on or we'll do stuff with them, have them stuff in the store. Something that we can't do, we'll get it through a brand. But now it's like we're fully just pushing the Bene brand in itself. It's probably, so it's probably helped us a little bit. It's like in the past we would probably just focus a little bit on Bene, like say do 1 or 2 drops every 3 months. Yeah. Now we're doing drop after drop, just trying to put more content out there.
Yeah.
It's really weird to think, man, like a year ago we were focusing more on like brands, and now we're looking like what should we do as a brand for like SS22. So it's a really weird like switch over.
So have you had to completely tone it down then in terms of how many brands you've got stocked?
Well, to be fair, like we wanted the store more as like a place that someone comes in, they can see brands from around the world. But then our branding itself always did well. And we sort of realised when COVID hit that we just have to refocus the business and just focus on our brand. And then if we have brands in, we still have them in. They have to like match a certain aesthetic or sit with us in the correct way.
Yeah.
But probably when we move back to the store, obviously when the lockdown goes down again, then we probably will have a bit more brands in. But it'll be just more like stuff that we can't. When it's like a thing we can't make ourselves and we can't do well ourselves, we'll get someone else to do it. Like homeware, we just wouldn't know how to get started with homeware. We might get a brand in to do homeware, or like just sick trousers or jackets, we'll get them in rather than us doing it because it just makes sense with the flow.
Yeah. How did it all start then, man? Because obviously you've been down Digbeth as a store, I'm guessing, for a couple of years, haven't you?
2016, so this year is going to be 5 years, which is...
Were you planning some big things for that, I'm guessing, yeah? Would have been sick?
We were just planning like a party and we've got some stuff that's still being planned that we're going to do virtually.
Yeah.
Obviously the whole idea was to do like a big party, do like a release thing. But it's like obviously with COVID, you sort of have to, every event you do now, we've done like four. Well, last year was the first year we didn't do an event.
Really?
We've had 42 events in like the previous 5 years, previous 4 years.
You're doing about 10 events a year then?
Near enough, yeah, 10 or 12 a year, and then literally nothing for a whole year. It's hard because we love it, because it's like the whole rush of like putting the event on, seeing people come down, having people come down and love the space and what people do with it, and we just haven't been able to do that for like a full-on year. So it's weird, man.
It's horrible, isn't it? I mean, it's just like, I don't want to go there in Digbeth, man, because I love it down there. Look, all my mates take the mix, so like this, it's like my spiritual home. So to go down there now and to see it all, just everything's just shut up and closed, it's going to be dreadful, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And how long have you had the store closed then, just since the recent lockdown?
So I think we locked up about the 21st of March, and then we've done 2 pop-ups. One was in August, one was in September, where we've just come down, seen how the area is, kind of aware that we're still here. And then I think it was just the case of, as soon as we did that pop-up, we were planning to do another one, had to cancel it. Then there was the November lockdown, then it was December, and we were planning to open up literally the start of Jan, and then it was the lockdown. We were like, when can we open this store back up? But I think when the lockdown's lifted, we're gonna move the HQ back and have the store back open. It's been weird, man, because we've had that store for like nearly 5 years, and it's like just going in there sometimes it's just a sick feeling, because you just go in and you're like, this is my store. Like,
I bet it's a mad feeling.
We always dreamed about it, to be fair. So like, funny enough, I was nothing to do with fashion at all. I was like, I could be the least away from fashion when I was like 17, 18. My brother did fashion at college and the university, and then my other business partner Hasim did business at university. So then he actually, when he finished uni, he wanted to start a brand. So we that's when Bene Culture first started. So we actually started like the name and the brand stuff back in like 2012, 2013. But I was just at uni, had no idea how to do production, graphic design, nothing. Film had just finished uni, obviously had no links because he's worked no industry jobs. So we would just ask people, like, we'd go into shops, would email people with, like, there was no Instagram messaging then. Let's just email and hope they responded back and go in a junk folder. And obviously in person too, we'll go like trade shows and stuff. No one wants to give us advice. Like, who's a good screen printer? No one. We'd email a screen printer and they'd say like, oh, it's 1,000 minimum. So we were just like a bit disheartened about it. We were like, you know what? Oh, fuck it. There's no point. Let's not do it. Forget about it. And then I finished uni. My brother, like, he was just working a retail job, and my house was working a retail job. And then we had the name, because we actually, stupidly, we paid for like the trademark.
Yeah.
A trademark for the business. So we had it. So we were like, we have this name. Let's do something with it.
Where did the name come from?
So when we were starting the brand, we went through loads. It wasn't actually myself, my brother and his wife. They were just running through loads of different names. We sort of wanted to emphasise good quality, good customer service, good ethos as a brand, and like a good community. And then we kept on with the different names, and then like good always came up, but we didn't want to have like good culture.
Yeah.
And then there was the word bene, which came because it's Latin for good / well. It kind of means goodness, wellness. And they just sort of put it together as like Bene Culture. And we thought, you know what, this sounds alright. Let's put it together. But I've always said, like, the name was the first step. But I think when you build your brand, whatever name it is, you can lift it up basically with what you do after you get the name. I think that was a good starting point for us, that name. So when Hass and Vim sort of, like, I wasn't involved at this point, they just sort of like, we need to start the business, we need to do something with the name. So they started selling vintage. So I think we had like £100-200 worth of vintage and went on to Depot, which was like,
they were like sourcing the vintage clothes and selling it on.
No, that's well, it was. So they went to this like I can't remember where it was, but it was like a wholesale place for vintage. Like there's loads now, but there wasn't that many back in like 2014, 2015, and they just found a place, bought vintage, and then they started selling it on Depop. Because basically we didn't have the capital to start a business. Like if you look now, a lot of brands, if someone said to you to start a clothing brand back in like 2015, 2014, they'd say you probably need like 5-10 grand to grow the business. I think like altogether probably barely had a lot, probably had less than £500. So it was like we didn't have the capital to start this big old brand, so we just started selling vintage, and then went on Depop, and then we started selling. Like it wasn't like $500 a day. It was like say 2 or 3 every couple of days, and it was going quite nicely. But we never just wanted to be a vintage store. It was like there was like a business plan where we go from vintage store to brand retailer to brand to sort of build up our knowledge. So we went from the vintage retailer and then into a brand store. So we're like, we've got this money here now. We want to start getting brands in.
Yeah.
So emailed brands, and like they were like not having it. They were like some brands ignored us. Some brands were just like, oh, come back in a couple of years when you've made a name a bit and we'll have a look. No brands want to say yes to us. So there was one brand called Tila. So my brother and Haas actually I think they got a flight, or they got the train to France, and it was like a day trip. So I think they arrived there at like 9-10, and they had to leave by like 6-7. So they had to have this quick meeting in Paris to win this brand called Tila over.
Really?
Yeah, and it was like I remember being like, seeing them go on the trip and being like, it's never going to happen. I was like proper like skeptical. They spoke to the brand showed them around like the whole infrastructure, and they were just like amazed. And then luckily they said yes to us. So I think we paid, I can't remember how much the first stock was, it's been like just over £2,000 or something. We paid for this stock, and then we've got one more brand called Heresy, which was like we've stocked for a number of years now, but we just got them because they were quite a young brand at that point, and we just started with 2 brands and some vintage that were already selling on Depop, just to kind of make our platform website. And we had no sales for like 2 months.
Really?
2-3 months. No, like, Depop was still ticking.
And did you have the store at this time? Was this all kind of online?
No, this was just an online store. So we went Depop online store, and we were just sort of like, okay, is the website working? Is it like, is it going all right? And then I remember it must have been like, it was like June 15th or something. I don't know, we launched like June 15th, then we got our first sale like end of July-ish, or mid of August. And I'd messed up. I'd put the shipping incorrectly, so I just put a flat rate for shipping of £4. But this guy ordered like 3 T-shirts from the US.
Oh really? Oh man.
So it was like 3 T-shirts, basically made a negative because the shipping was like £15 or something. But it was the first sale, and I think it's one of those moments where you can always give up at any stage when you're not making money, and we're sort of like, I've got a job. All of us had jobs, so like, let's just see what happens. And then from that one sale, it was 2 sales, 3 sales, 4 sales. The Depop was getting a bit bigger. We're getting more vintage sales than that. We're making more trips down to get stock. And then it was about October 2015-ish. The vintage was doing well. The brand stuff was doing all right. And we thought, you know what, we need to have our own branded stuff, because people like the stuff we're selling, so we can produce stuff, and we produce this like really not cheaply made, but like really basic hoodie, which had like a vinyl Bene in the middle and 2 other T-shirts, and we released our very first drop in like October 2015.
Yeah,
and it sold all right. Probably think we sold about 15 at the time on the release day, but then it kept on selling and kept having to restock it. But we weren't doing like 25 units. We were doing like 2 at a time.
really?
Or like when we were getting an order, we were then getting the order printed and then taking it and then sending it off to the customer. So it was a terrible, like, in terms of customer thing. We didn't have enough like capital to start the brand, so we were like, let's just do it this way and see if it works. We could get stuff produced in a day, so it wasn't that hard. And then by January, we were making good sales on our own brand. We were making all right sales on vintage, and the brand stuff was ticking along. And we just thought, man, we need a physical store because
it's going to blow up.
A major part of the business was the community side of it, putting events on, showcasing brands from around the world in a space rather than an online store. And we sort of looked everywhere for spaces. Like Brum made the most sense, but it's just finding a unit. Like I think we've viewed about 3 or 4 units, and then randomly the unit in Digbeth became available, and through a friend we found out, and through like a good business plan, when we showed the landlords, we got the space. And then that's come up to 5 years since we signed the lease for the first time. So from that point on, it's sort of been 5 years of trying to build the brand from literally from very early stages. Yeah.
Cool, man. I mean, like you say, from what you told me just then, it's a case of like I'm guessing you're still learning, but then you've learned on the go, and it's just giving yourself a chance as well, isn't it, man? Because it makes me laugh because nobody wants to know you when you're just starting out. So like, I'm sure you've had. I'm guessing you'll probably get into it, but I'm sure you've had kind of brands come to you these days, and you're like, you know what? You're probably not the right fit for us anymore. And it's like everyone's got to start somewhere, haven't they? So and that's obviously where that's what you've done. You've just, from what I can see from the outside looking into you, like, and what I've seen over the years, you've just gone from like you're kind of going from strength to strength, and you're making a proper name for yourselves in Brum.
I think we've always, you have to make mistakes to get somewhere. Even our product shots, we paid way too much to get them done initially, and it just didn't make any sense. We did really badly, got 2-3 years gap, and then we find a good person to work with, and now they're like, I think our product shots are really great. It's even down to products we get in and how a business model. I think we looked too much at a very it has to be super limited, and then it's out of stock forever. But I think now we've sort of realised to build a brand, you have to make sure stuff's in stock. You have to see what your audience wants, and then try to create products around that that's mixed with your style. And I think a lot of the mistakes that we made initially makes us respect how the business is growing. We don't want to be a brand which there's a lot of brands these days where they get too big too quick, and the customer service is trash, the delivery is trash, the product's never the best quality, and we want to sort of grow slowly. So we want to make sure in 5 years' time our product's the best of the best. We want to make sure our customer service is the best of the best, our delivery is the best of the best. If you have multiple stores, we want to make sure every store is like the best it can be.
Yeah.
And that's why we try and take it slower, because it's not like a 10-year business you want to have. It's something we want to have for like the next 50, 60, 70 years. It's like becomes a bigger thing than it is.
It's interesting, man. Like, I think obviously you're just meeting me for the first time, but in all my adult life, all I've ever done is run around Brum, trying to find like a proper authentic streetwear store, and I've always come up frustrated. And I'm guessing, I'm guessing you probably did the same when you was like before, Bene and your brothers and that, like running around, and like just there's not been that much. So when I came across you, I was really like intrigued, and I just thought kind of like exactly what you said. Your whole approach is just a bit original in comparison to what I've seen, and you can get stores that come and go, and I've seen loads of stores that have especially in like Digbeth, that have come and gone. But obviously you're kind of like you're just building as you go, man. And that's why I wanted to like speak to and get you on, and just interested to hear your story, man, and see how you, like, where you're going from there.
I think we were like, because I would have been about, Candy Store. That was the original idea. You had tattoo and autograph, and we love streetwear. So like I was proper. I loved Obey. I loved Hundreds. My brother loved my brother was like proper super early into like Bape, Billionaire Boys Club back in the early 2000s. He was always on it with fashion stuff. So like he would always introduce me to brands and stuff, and I'd always try and take it on. Like probably not the best stuff. Like I used to wear this red Obey cap with like the green bottom, and it was awful, but I loved it at the time. And I think that influenced us a lot. Like a lot of the retailers that we grew up with, made us realise what kind of retailer slash brand we wanted to be. And I think Brum does need that. Obviously, I think we do fulfil a gap in Brum where we're just friendly faces, and we just try and put a product out there that you've probably not seen anywhere else, or work with people that many people have seen it anywhere else, rather than going for the same brands that everyone, or the same designs that everyone goes with.
It's mad what you mentioned about Obey, because I adore Obey that much. I've got the Obey Andre the Giant face on my leg, man.
Are you really?
Yeah,
Sick.
I've got a massive. I had it done about 5-6 years ago. I got it on the back of my car. Killed me. It's about a 3-hour job, but yeah, Obey I think still is probably one of my favourite brands, streetwear. I think I wear a lot more Stussy these days, but Obey, look, there's something about it, man. I don't know what it is. You see, it just looks cool, doesn't it? I think
a lot of the like LA, New York brands, they always seem to have like that, even if they're not like the biggest in terms of what's in right now. They'll always have good products coming out. They're like hundreds. Like I remember so many people saying, "Oh, hundreds is crap now," and I'm like, "Nah, hundreds still do great stuff." Like, and I think he had his book released last year, which is like for a streetwear head, it's like one of the best books to read, because it's just like the little tidbits you hear about like gossip in the streetwear industry in the late 2000s.
yeah.
Proper like because you were there, you remember going on the Bobby Hundreds blog and checking out every time when in the store and stuff, and it's like weird to think coming back in the 12 years later, I'm reading him talking about it and how the brand grows.
It's mad. Yeah, mate, hundreds. I think in my early 20s and late teens, that was all. I was just decked out in that, man. And then I think like I got to an age, I was like, nah, I'm too old for hundreds now. But then I think I was looking at some stuff the other day, and I think it's making a bit of a more comeback now. Not that it ever went anywhere. I think they're probably just making a bit more kind of like clothes style that I'd probably wear now. But it's funny you mentioned. Carry on, mate. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I think it's hard for brands because like you have that crossroads where you can either grow with your audience as they get older, or you can like sort of stay the same and just continue the same stuff and get new people to replace the people that have kind of got away from the brand. I always look at Supreme, like look at early Supreme. They sort of grew with their main audience. So a lot of their even Palace, like a lot of their stuff is not just a t-shirt and hoodie. It's now like a 2-piece suit, or it's like a fleece jacket, or it's a proper like North Face jacket. So it's like they're not going just on that one line. They're actually growing with their customer. Yeah. I think we probably want to do, because it makes more sense as we're getting older. If we made something that we wouldn't wear, I wouldn't want to do that. It's not selling something I would have in my own wardrobe. Yeah.
It's interesting you say that, because I'm guessing you're a little bit younger than me, but late 20s.
28.
28. Yeah, I'm 31. So right. I'm not coming 32 this year, and then like my missus is always on at me. Other lads take the mick and stuff. So like, Dave, and you're getting a bit old for wearing that, and you're getting a bit this, that, and you know what I mean. And like with streetwear, I think it's quite interesting because you see like middle-aged men, and you can see who knows what they're doing in terms of dressing, but then you can see others that, and you're thinking, what are you wearing, man? Like you're trying to dress like younger than you are, and it's just like going into my 30s. I'm just like I'm laughing. I laugh to myself because I'm like, right, then how are you going to navigate this? Because you can't wear certain things. I don't know. You can't wear certain things you used to be able to wear when you was like 20 or 21.
I think it's doing a mix of like, I think a lot of people that were in streetwear in their like 20s, they always tend to go towards Carhartt.
Yeah, mate. It's almost like you've looked into my wardrobe. Yeah, I mean, I've always liked Carhartt, but I think I don't know what it just seems to be a bit more. I don't want to say the word mature, man, because I'm not 55 yet, but I think it's just a bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? Understated, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's minimal in like minimal branding. You know, when you hit 20s, you're in a big brand, you want the big logo, and then as you get older, you sort of want, I want a really small logo here. I want no logo on some stuff. Like I love Uniqlo just because it's like hardly any branding on it.
Not so simple, yeah.
And then it's like, then you go through stages. Like it's some certain stuff, like there's some brands which have amazing big logo prints, and you've got to buy it because it's like it makes sense. Like Aries do great big print stuff, and you sort of want to go towards it. I'm not scared about it, but I'm like when I hit my 40s, I'm like, how am I gonna have to dress? Because like my brand streetwear or like menswear fashion, how am I meant to like
That,
dress in that sense? I think I just like comfortable stuff. To be
yeah,
fair,
my approach though is, mate, I ain't changing, man. Like the clothes. I ain't. I'm just thinking, nah. This is who I am. This is all I'm gonna be. I've been like this for years. I ain't gonna change just because I'm getting older. It is what it is. I mean, I'd have to sell half my wardrobe if that's the case. But you see, it's interesting because you never think you're gonna have that like thought when you're like 22. But then you get to like, I don't know, you get to a certain age and then say if you have like a wardrobe clear out, you're like, shit, I'd never wear that. And it's exactly what you're saying about, I think, when I was at uni and stuff, I used to love the massive like Crooks and Castles pattern, 100,
yeah,
the massive like logo in the middle or whatever. But now, if I had like a probably choice of like, say, a Carhartt pocket tee, or I don't know, hundreds coloured white t-shirt, whatever, that's got like loads of patterns on it, whatever, I'd probably go for the Carhartt just because like less is more almost. But
I think you sort of do it naturally without knowing. So
yeah,
you'll get instead of getting a pair of say chinos or something, not chinos, get a pair of like jeans which are like super baggy, loads of pockets. You might just go for a normal like boot cut, or like instead of getting like a loud trainer, you'll get like a pair of Reebok Classics. I think you just subconsciously you just think, you know what, I'm gonna go for that. Like me, I was a proper sneakerhead in my like early 20s. I used to get Hirachis, Air Force Ones, Jordans. Didn't matter what colour, I was getting it, reselling it. And now I think my staple shoe is like the Vans slip on,
really.
because it's just like put your foot in and you can go. I know it sounds really stupid. It's like I like more the convenience
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than. I mean, it's if I told myself like 19-year-old Hemal, you're not gonna like trainers anymore, or you're not gonna have that many pairs of trainers, they'd be like, you're chatting shit. Like on eBay right now, I'm not gonna give it up. But I suppose as you get older, your mind frame just changes to what's more
Yeah.
important in terms of your wardrobe.
It's interesting, honestly, mate. We could be here all day talking about it. 'Cause it's interesting because I think every lad, especially like a streetwear kind of street culture lad, must go through this. I want to do loads more conversations about this with like different brands and just different people that I know,
Yeah.
because I find it quite interesting because you can just see like people who are obviously trying too hard, or who kind of, or it just looks so just normal or natural for them to kind of wear whatever like, and it just looks like they've just pulled it on. It's not like they've had any thought behind it, which
I
is
think
it's always the biggest thing I find.
I think it's always best when you just go into your wardrobe, pick two pieces, don't really think about it, and put them on. That's always the best. You can tell when someone's like they specifically bought this trainer to go with this pair of jeans and this t-shirt, and wear the cap this way. Do you know what I mean? You can always sort of tell. I think when it's like proper without trying, it's always the best kind of fits, man. I think as I've got older, I've realised I care more about like I think even with Bene, we thought it's more about the uniform, where especially stuff we're doing this year, it's more about like we want this to be a uniform for someone, so that it's like a Bene uniform, or like that's why we have our essentials, which we're sort of reworking this year, where it's like a line where people can wear, which is like they know them two items work well together. Like that pair of joggers and that hoodie will work well together. I think that's really important to make it so it's not just always big logo, big print. So yeah, if a person wants big print, they have big print. If they want basic, they have basic.
I think that's what like I really liked about Bene when I first went in. It's just kind of, it's almost like the less is more approach, isn't it? I mean, like the store, the way the store's kind of decked out and kind of decorated and everything, it's very minimal almost, isn't it? I find, and I think that's kind of how the brand approach is. And then when I was looking through obviously the teas and stuff, that it's kind of, maybe it was my age, I'm not sure, but like what I was after was what you were offering in terms of like the logo, that less is more, and just it just looked cool. You weren't trying too hard to be a massive street name within Birmingham. Kind of you were already doing it without kind of it, that kind of not trying too hard, even though obviously you were working loads behind the scenes. I'm guessing that's the kind of approach you were going for.
So the store is a funny one because it wasn't really a lack of trying to be minimal. It was the case where we just didn't have the money to make that store. So like I think everything that in our very first store layout we was recycled. So it was like our storage was recycled off another store that had left. and was in storage. Our shelving unit was I think it was like some other shelving unit that was broken, like a shelving case that someone else had accidentally broken. Then we just painted it, screwed it in with like this hinge, and then put it on there. The rails were like a broken rail that we somehow were able to come together. I think like half the tables were pallet boards, which we'd found on like industrial sites, which we'd asked to take. We just cleaned them up, put them together.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it'd literally been like I think we spent £50 on a store refit that very first time, and that was probably the paint and paying a mate to come with my brother's brother-in-law to come with the drill and drill the pieces together for us. Now we're just pure like working. But as we've kind of got along the stores, we realised the main focus for us, obviously prior to COVID, was having the store very modular. So we always want the store to be, so if someone puts an event on, we can take bits out of our store. So our current 3 rails we have in the store, we can just literally take them out. So there's a big space for someone to put an exhibition on. And even like a lot of other shelving, we can literally take off the walls very easily. So it's going to be like, it doesn't always have to be the same kind of look, which I think is quite important. I used to hate going into some streetwear stores where every single time I went in, it was the same clothing, the same layout, the same books. Nothing ever changed, but I think we try our best to kind of always try and keep it fresh, have new stuff in, and have like a mix of brand stuff in terms of ourselves, and then obviously prior other brand stuff, and then some vintage pieces too, to kind of make it so it's more like a wardrobe. You can walk in someone's wardrobe and they're sitting on the side there, and then they tell you information about it, sort of.
That's cool. A cool approach. I mean, how did you kind of feel starting it then? Did you have much resistance from like friends and family and say, right, I'm going to go into streetwear?
I think we didn't. I think we sort of couldn't ask for any investment of family and friends. We just sort of went into it. We were all working day jobs. I think everyone was pretty supportive. Like my parents were really supportive. Hass's the business owner. His parents were really supportive. We had loads of help initially, like from some of my friends. They bought stuff when we first started out.
Yeah.
I say a lot now. Like, even to this day, a lot of my friends that I've gained from the store, they still support us. I think it was more the sense of we were small fish in a big pond, and everyone says it, when someone starts a brand, you're never going to get all your mates being like, "Oh, that's sick. I'm going to buy stuff." I had a lot of mates being like, "Oh, you're a fashion owner now," stuff like that. I think it's the case. Then when after a couple of years, they sort of realise, "Oh shit, you're actually doing this." So some of my mates went to school with. They came to the store once, and I was like, "Oh, it's actually a store." It didn't clock that I'd actually owned the store. But everyone was pretty supportive, yeah. Like, I think over the way I've had loads of help of friends, like we put events on, they've helped out. I think we've got a really tight-knit community that come in the store and like help out. And then our friends do help out for events. It's been quite nice with her.
I think, like you say, it's probably good. It's probably fits you nicely as well that you are down Digbeth. You're probably fitting with that kind of culture and what's going on down there.
Yeah, I think we would have worked with other parts of Birmingham, but I think it makes more sense in Digbeth because of how it's very oriented on startups.
Yeah.
A lot of the indie kids, a lot of the streetwear kids, they end up coming down to Digbeth, and it's like that whole custard factory has its aura of what it's about. Like the whole indie vibe. I think everyone in there is indie. I think now with a lot of the space, a lot of the stores have been there for quite a number of years. I think there's not many that have just popped up. So when someone comes down, they know what they're getting. They know they've got the dining club around the corner. They've got Ideal. They've got us. They've got canteen for food. They've got a cinema on the left, a board game place. And I think having the nightlife there, the area being developed, there's good and bad sides to it. But obviously, it seems like because everyone stayed there, it's building a really nice community of people. Hopefully, when COVID sort of dies down a little bit in terms of the lockdowns and stuff, that community can continue to still grow. We don't see a lot of them go away.
Yeah, nah. I mean, you won't find a bigger fan of Digbeth than me. I love it there. I think, like you say, it's got a lot to offer, man. And it was was getting to a place where it had a lot more to offer as well. I mean, you had everything down there, but then obviously you got the street food scene, obviously the street scene in yourselves.
Yeah.
and then the pubs and stuff. You got like Digbeth Dining Club, obviously Old Crown. There's a lot happening. So you could. I mean, ended up having a night out down there. I think it was October when we was allowed out, and it was just so cool. It was cool though, to be fair, 'cause, like, you don't have to go to town. I mean, to the city centre, you can just literally bar hop. There's so much to see down there. You can play ping pong. You can buy a T-shirt. You know what I mean? And it's like its own little city within the city. And I think, like, you fit in real nice there. Like you say, it's a lot of independents that are kind of like supporting each other, really. That's why it's such a shame, I think, to see probably how it is at the minute.
I think it's quite scary to see what stores last the lockdown. It is quite. It must be like, we found it scary ourselves. On the first day we locked the store up for COVID, we were just like, when are we going to open back up?
You just all like hugging each other, like wishing each other well, and just saying your prayers and stuff. Because
I was at my desk, so I was like, I wasn't helping out packing up, and I saw the guys were packing up, and I was just like, this is so scary. Like, what's actually going to happen? We didn't know if it was going to be 2 weeks, if it was going to be 10 months. So it was like, there was nothing about the funding yet. So we were just sort of like, this rent's just going to destroy us. Like, but then I think we had to put our heads on and be like, you know what? We didn't want to start a brand yet. We didn't want to be like a full-on brand, but maybe it's a sign to just like put all our eggs in the Bene brand and try and grow it as like, try and put more product out there and try and make products that we would want to wear rather than buy another brand stock that match our style. And it's turned out, it's been pretty good end to the year.
You've been okay like in the last year then with it?
I think it's done really well. I think because a lot of people used just only buy our brand stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Our cult hoodie, people religiously buy that. So when we were putting more stuff out, people were sort of, oh, you're putting more stuff out, and they kept on being like, a lot of customers are like, it's like a subscription. Every month they come and they buy one T-shirt or they buy one thing. So it's quite nice as it's going. I think because the store's been closed, so a lot of people have supported us online that would normally support us in store too. So the community's like grown even further just past the Digbeth area. We've got a lot of customers in London, in Newcastle, Leeds, Denmark. So it's even Paris. Like it's getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully, like with the next few years, obviously with COVID, we're trying to make a platform where, because now everything's kind of virtually, we're going to try and do events and stuff in a bigger community rather than just in a small space.
I'm guessing with all your new abroad customers, you've changed your shipping cost from £4 then.
Yeah. It's not £4. I think it's one of the most stressful things, especially with the Brexit stuff too. Like just making sure everything's correct. I think we want to make sure like delivery is something that I've always wanted to make sure it's like the best of the best. Obviously, it's hard during COVID because like there's delays everywhere. But I think I've always want to make sure that at some point in the next like 5-6 years that our delivery is like, we get it next working day in the UK now, but I think for abroad we want to get it even faster. But it's just a bit hard now with everything that's going on.
Yeah, man. I was just at work today and I was like, God, there isn't actually any good news happening at the minute, is there really? Done a bit tougher lockdowns and all this, and it's hard because like obviously I'm doing this podcast and I'm speaking to different people, but you almost end up having the same conversation, and nobody wants to be having this conversation at all. But it drives me mad, man, because it's affecting everything.
I think especially because Brum is it's a lot of its focus on hospitality and like retail industry. Like our food scene is probably one of the best in the country, so them not being able to actually have people in their spaces must be heartbreaking. Like I think luckily a lot of the best places have like been able to stay open. I think the dining clubs have been able to stay open. They haven't had as much issues as expect. Like Tiger Bites Pig, they've been able to stay open since. And I think it must be very scary for places like that where they haven't got foot traffic anymore. They have to focus all their efforts on Deliveroo and online. Hopefully, I'm hoping at the end of this year, everything's going to not get back to normal, but like at least hopefully we can have some stage where the hospitality industry gets pushed up even further.
Yeah, man.
I think people are supporting, which is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, are you did you spend a lot of time around Brum then when you were younger, like kind of in streetwear stores?
It was weird. Like, so I wasn't into fashion at all. I was like, I think I used to shop at Next. Like when I was a kid.
Full circle then, yeah.
Yeah, a bit. Yeah. I used to hate retail. Like I worked at JD, I think, when I was younger, and I worked at a bank as like part-time jobs. And then my brother sort of like pushed me into fashion. He was just sort of like he'd take me on trips to Birmingham, and we'd go to Size, we'd go to like Atu, we'd go to Autograph, we'd go to like Ideal, we'd go to where else? Candy Store. And we'd sort of just go in and we'd sort of like take it up and maybe try stuff on. And I sort of just got into it. I'd always like liked the culture, so community stuff of like streetwear, so like hundreds. I like their stuff more because of like the cartoony designs, the blog side of it. But I was never like, oh, I'm into fashion. I was like, I like this aspect of streetwear. And then about 2010, 2012, I sort of just got, but that's when I turned 17, 18, I just got sort of propelled into liking clothes a lot more. And then I've kind of gone, as I've gone along, I've sort of got more into it.
Yeah, it's interesting, man, because I think just streetwear over even the last year, 2 years, 3 years, it's just blown up, hasn't it, man? It's everywhere, and I think it coincides with obviously like hip hop, because I'm a huge hip hop fan as well. I'm guessing you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, we could be here all day once again talking about rappers and that, but I think because obviously streetwear is very closely correlated to hip hop, and hip hop's like the biggest selling genre in the music industry right now, and it's no surprise that there's been such a crossover with streetwear to high end, and obviously I forgot his name now. What's his name? The big man.
Oh, Virgil.
No, Virgil. Yeah, I forgot his name. How could I forget the man's name? And obviously, like, what kind of like levels he's reached over the last couple of years with Louis V and stuff. I find it really interesting, the transition, man, because like you say, even when me and you was at uni, it's almost like streetwear was like the outsiders, and then now it's like fully formed, and you got like obviously Kanye producing like streetwear at $500 a sock. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, but that, and that it's almost like a cultural popularity thing to be kind of like part of that kind of world.
It was like two groups. It was always like, or three groups. It was like kind of normal high streetwear, like independent fashion, and then like high end. And I think over the past like say 10 years, I think especially because of like people like Kanye, or the kind of musicians, because musicians have sort of collabed with other artists in the fashion industry. It's sort of been like they've also collabed. So it's like Nike with Off-White, obviously big collab in the past couple of years. You've had like, was it the North Face Gucci recently?
Have you seen that coat?
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Don't you think it's awful though as well?
I think it's awful, but I don't think they've probably made loads of people. I bet they've probably made it just for the fact it would be a good piece to just have.
Yeah.
If someone North Face or into Gucci, because it's like it's a collab where in a number of years it'll be worth so much money. And I think probably Kanye sort of started that thing with like the Yeezys back in like the 2009, 2010. It was that crossover of music and fashion. And a lot of people, that trainer culture, which used to be big in the years previously, it kind of maxed with like Supreme, Palace, and it all sort of like blew at the same time in the sense of people would wait in lines for pairs of shoes. Like I remember, was it the Scream Green Hirachis?
I think so.
I remember it came to Size and people were waiting in line for it. I remember thinking that like people don't even give a shit about it now, but like I remember that thing. It was really weird seeing a person line up for a pair of trainers, and then from there it's just like blown up in the sense of people lining up for like clothing collabs for like for Travis Scott burgers, and it's all just sort of intertwined into everything now. It's like
that's what's interesting, and it is like that. It's intertwined into a lot of different things, and I think especially with like Kanye, you can say what you want about him, but there's probably not a day goes by when you're allowed at the house that you don't see 10 Yeezys.
Yeah, 100%.
They're everywhere, and like I wanted some music. I've never had any purposely because I think years ago I wanted, they were like sought after, but now you can get some so easy and everyone's wearing them. Like, why would you want to wear them?
I think it's one of those things. I think he said it in an interview somewhere where it was like he wants everyone to be able to have a pair of Yeezys. And I think about brand, like when you're a brand, you sort of don't want everyone, like when you're like 18, 19, you want to start a brand, you don't want everyone to wear it. But now, like being like 28, I'm thinking I want anyone to wear it, because it's just sake where there's no limit on like what race you are, what creative industry you're in, what your age is. It just matters that we're trying to like sell a culture in some sense.
Yeah,
And
and it must be quite like cool for you to like say if you're in Wednesbury in Morrison's and you see some geezer walk past you with a Bene top on, you're like, yeah, man.
it never gets old, man. I remember the first time I saw someone wearing it. I was in Birmingham by that near that old where Apple Store is now.
Oh
I
yeah.
saw someone at Muji wearing like our very first drop. It'd only been like a week since we released it, or 2 weeks. I remember seeing him and being like, "Oh my god, should I go over to him?" So I started walking over, and I was like, "No, that's weird," and I just walked away. Every time I see someone wear it, I'm just like, it's like that. You just get super happy. It's like, damn, like something I designed or something I was able to formulate. Someone's wearing on them, they like it. So that wearing it a lot. So it's super weird to this day, but it's such a good feeling around it, man.
Yeah, I bet, man. I was gonna say, just seeing it go from like an idea in your head to a piece of clothing or apparel or whatever it is, and then seeing that like being worn by someone must just be like a surreal feeling, really.
I think it's even like, a lot of people say, "Oh, is it like, do you like it when celebs wear it and stuff?" But it always means more, but it's like when I see it to a random person in like a random city, or like my mates in a person. I think one of my mates dropped me a message a few months back and was like, "I'm in Berlin, and this guy's just wearing your hoodie." And I didn't know the person that was wearing it, and I was just like, "That's so weird!" Like some random person, the random in Germany, is wearing my hoodie. My mate's seen it, and I think it would never get old. As old as I get, as old as the brand gets, it would never get old seeing someone in here. Because I'm like, "Damn, you like my brand? That's sick."
Well, that's what you want, is I suppose, especially in like Brum, you want to be walking about and seeing everyone in it, just as like you don't bat an eyelid when someone's wearing Nike. Do you? So like, I'm guessing for your plan for like the next year or whatever that looks like, you just want to keep growing.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things we want to grow, but grow in the right way. So we want to make sure when we're hiring people, when we're growing the business, when we're doing anything, we're doing it in the right way. So like, even in down to like manufacturing, we want to manufacture everything in the UK. Ideally everything in the UK by like the end of the next couple of years. Even down to like sustainability wise, I think we've always been quite trying to do the best we can do. We stopped like we were doing vintage for nearly 5 years. We've done rework vintage for nearly 5 years too. We try our best to try and find blanks and stuff that make sense to us and as sustainable as they can be. But I think we just want to make it overall as a business kind of match the ethos of good culture from top to bottom. But it takes time. Everyone can do it. It's like you have to go through various stages of development and stuff to make sure it's the best as possible. But I think we're in it for the long run rather than the short term.
Yeah, like I said before, man, I've seen that many stores kind of come in with so much promise, and then within like a couple of months they're gone. And it's that longevity, it's the hardest, and it's all about consistency, isn't it? And just kind of having a loyal kind of customer base. And yeah, I mean, how have you found kind of, obviously we spoke about Digbeth, but how have you found it in terms of like footfall? Because I always, when we can go down to Digbeth, I always want to go down, and whoever I'm with are like, oh, do we have to go down there? Like it's 20-minute walk, man. And I'm like, yeah, but look what you got down there. You got Cow, you got Bene. There's obviously Ideal. What else? There's like other different, not even clothes stores. You got food stores and stuff.
Counter Stags, there's Canteen, you have like
Yeah.
Little Gold corner. I think for us, it was always more of like a showroom office. So the footfall is still good because we have a select amount of customers that always come in, so it's always fine. And like our main business is online anyway, so it's more of a stage where I would say that the store has always been a platform to start conversations. Has always wanted to use it for. It was always a stage of like, I think one of our best kind of times in there was, I think it was near the election last year. We had like another customer, me and my brother. I mean, we were just having a conversation about it. It wasn't nothing to do with selling them an item or upselling them something. It was about like, oh, what's your views on this? I think that's the main part for us to like, if we can connect two people up and then they start a brand, or connect two people up and they have a good conversation, or they become friends, that's more important to us more than anything else. Because the brand in itself is the brand. We'll always be able to do something, and we'll be able to sell in that space. It's more the sense of we just want to be a community like hub where people can just come in, have a conversation, ask for advice. Like one thing I said before was like we never actually had answers to questions we had when we were younger when to start a brand. If a kid comes in now and asks for advice, we're like the first people to say, "Oh, try this person out, try this person out. If you're starting a brand, try and do this." Because for me, it's just more in the sense of I don't want to keep that information. I want to make it so it's if that kid grows as a brand, he might open a store, and then he might make the area and like the retail game improve even better. So it's more of a stage where we do it for the city and do it for the overall community rather than just ourselves.
How long was your kind of business plan then when you first started?
I think it was more like I think we had our business plan was like a 5 to 10 years. We kind of wanted to start vintage. We didn't know how long it would take, and always the plan was like do vintage, do streetwear brands, start a brand, and then do even more focus on the platform. And I think we've sort of been rushed into the brand bit, but we've kind of put a stop on it and then just taken it slow with all the COVID this year and stuff. But I think it's about 5 10 years thereabouts. But it always changes, like random stuff, like a brand not doing well, a collection not doing well. It can change what you do and how you do it. Like one season can literally destroy a brand these days. And we're just trying to make sure we have like a good setting as a brand, so we can just grow and grow and grow and grow naturally, rather than do it like shoot up really fast.
In terms of your brands, there, it's quite interesting what you said. Then, how are you kind of choosing them now for Bene?
So we've always saw when we're getting a brand in, it's always a mix of how the brand owners are. Like, do they match our ethos? It's more like a family kind of thing. So if we chat to a person and we get on with them and they want to stock in the store, we'll let them stock in the store, because it's more of a sense of we want to build that kind of. It's not just a business deal. It's more of like a connection as people rather than anything else. And then obviously it has to think, would we wear that? It's always the case. It's like a wardrobe. We have to make sure that if we're putting them in store, or if we're say carrying this design on for a brand level, we have to make sure, would we put that up in our wardrobe? Would we wear that ourselves? And if it's a no, we just don't go forward with it. If it's a yes, we'll do it all day.
Interesting, man. Yeah, I bet it's nice to have a choice of that now. Because like when you started, and like you said, I bet there wasn't that many brands you could actually source because there was all saying no. Like, who's Bene? Like what the hell are you trying to do? It's always the way, isn't it? I think, like, even me, mate, starting this kind of like podcast, you start out at nothing. So
yeah,
like hopefully that all it is, you've got to keep building, haven't you? So I'm guessing from where you are now to where you were 5, 6, 7 years ago, you must be chuffed into what your growth of what you've done and where you want to achieve as well.
I think it's because we're so close to it, we never really look back and be like, oh, this is what we're doing. But it's really weird. Like, you just sort of, you look back at it and you're like, we have done quite a lot in like a number of years, and we never really know, what's the word, like I can't think of the word now.
You want to like stop and like just kind of take it all in.
Yeah, you sort of stop, take a look at it all, and you're like, okay, we've actually done a lot of great stuff. And I think a lot of that, because of social media, you don't get a chance to do that. You sort of just like, you have to always be doing something and like pushing forwards. But it's been, I think I'm glad a lot of the brands said no to us at the start, because if they'd all said yes, we'd have been bankrupt within about 2 weeks. You know what I mean? We really have business, but it's also, it fuels you. Like, the mistakes fuel you to go to the next stages. It fuels you to like, okay, we need to improve on this. We need to like not make the same mistakes. If you don't have the mistakes, you sort of, it's too easy.
Yeah, you need them to kind of think about that to learn from. Yeah,
that hardship to sort of like roughen you up. So like even when I was a kid, like, you have to like know the value of money, know the value of like what it means for a person. Like a person to buy one of the items, they have to work for like 4 or 5 hours to earn that wage to then give it to me. So I want to make sure if I'm doing that, it means a lot to them that we're putting all our effort into it. So we want to make sure it's the same thing. Like, we just take our time. We're trying to take our time with the business and the brand to make sure it's the best it can be.
It's cool, man. Like, yeah, it's definitely cool. Like, kind of having that kind of sense of moral purpose and kind of compass as well. For you're not just a streetwear brand trying to sell streetwear. It's more about the community that you're kind of involved with as well.
Yeah,
definitely.
It's even the same in the store. Like, it's always been about like people over profit. So it's always like, it doesn't matter what, if we put an event on, it wouldn't matter if that person has like 200 followers. If their art is good enough, I think it's good enough to put an exhibition on. I think a lot of the artists we've given chances to, it's probably been their first exhibition in our space. And I'm sort of glad we could do that, because a lot of the kids are like, we gave platforms like some 19, 20-year-olds, and that would be their first understanding of how to put an exhibition on. I think that's so important, especially when you're just starting out, to like understand how you do stuff, and that can help them in the future. Because we had like, I think we must have messaged about 10 people saying, "Oh, could we put some of our stock in your store when we're first starting out?" Just being like, "Oh, can you give us advice on this, blah blah blah?" And like, they just said, "Fuck off."
Really?
Get out. Well, like, not many words, but they just sort of wouldn't want to have any of it. And we sort of, I think I'm glad we can be that space where a kid can come in and say, "I've got this brand, I don't know what to do with it, could I stock it here?" And we can give them advice, or if it's good enough, we can say we'll put it in the store, or we can help them out. So I think that's probably the best part for me, being able to be that platform that we never had ourselves.
Class, man. I mean, yeah. Well, best of luck with it, and thanks, kind of like, for your time. And obviously, we'll stay in touch, and I'll be keeping an eye on you. I'll probably be buying some stuff now. You've inspired me. You'll see my name in the basket like Callahan. Oh, I've got a ship to Quinton, man. You'll have to let me know when you've got your next event on. Hopefully, like, it'll be kind of some hip hop themed or something like that.
I don't know what we're going to put on. I think we're probably going to do a virtual thing. So we usually put like DJ events on. So we're trying to make a thing where we put like DJ events on, we're doing virtually. But it's just how that happens. Like, it's this little bits and bobs to it. We're trying to find the best way possible to put an event on, but not have it in person. I think have a hotel, just put a prints on the wall. Everyone goes and have a hotel, but I have no idea, man.
Nah, man. You'll have to let me know, mate. I'll be definitely down for it.
Sound, man. Appreciate it.
Well, good to speak to you. Good to meet you. I'm sure we'll be speaking to each other and probably seeing each other virtually or otherwise again.
Same, man.
Yeah, man. All good.
Sound. In a bit.
Yeah, see you later. See you in a bit.